What should I do? What should I not do? How should I set up my system in order to proceed most successfully and even happily? These are crucial questions that we ask us every once in a while. Welcome, dear PhD students. Welcome, dear postdocs, to this episode of The Lucky Scientist. I'm looking forward to this episode a lot since a couple of vlogs ago I elaborated on 6 very widespread flaws of PhD students that make their projects fail. And that was a very short episode. And I thought it would be worthwhile to elaborate a bit more on things that you want to do, on things on the to-dos, in order to proceed well. So here they are, the 4 main ideas that I want to share with you. What are they? By the way, my name is Matthias. I'm the founder of the Young Scientists Academy, and these findings or these ideas that I share with you are based on 20 years of training and coaching individual PhD students, individual postdocs in many seminars, in many one-to-one coachings. So that's what I want to share with you. The first one, the first to do is this one. Have a plan and set goals. What do I mean with a plan? Have a long-term plan. Always start with the end in mind. So start from long-term to short-term planning. That's crucial in planning. So what is your long-term vision? You want to know about that. You want to have a graspable vision about your future. Do you want to stay in academia? Do you want to move to industry? What do you plan to do after your PhD, after your postdoc? Elaborate on a long-term vision. And based on that vision, set up a plan for your next big steps. Maybe it's finishing the PhD in time. Maybe it's ending the second postdoc at that time. So have a clear point in time where you want to do the big next step. And then have a big plan, a master plan. That's what I call a master plan that comprises this whole big project, maybe the PhD project. So you would have a master plan that encompasses your whole PhD project from now till finishing, till receiving the title. How can such a plan look like? This is one example how such a plan could look like. That's a so-called Gantt chart, where on the left you find the to-dos, the single steps that you have in mind that you want to do, that you want to elaborate on, and horizontally you would draw a bar when you want to do that. And there can be different resolutions. That's a very rough resolution. That's a quarterly resolution. I would suggest to start with a monthly resolution, and then the next 6 months even, I would go into weekly resolution. If you want to, I share the templates in this description, in the video description, so you can download them from there. And there will be a separate vlog about how to use and work with the long-term plan. Just a couple of remarks here. You want to do this plan for you, not for any other stakeholder, not for any institution that gives you the money, not for your supervisor, not for any project partners, only for you. And you want to keep it current. You want to keep it up to date. It's so many PhD students at the beginning of their project, they at some point they elaborated on such a plan, and then they put it in the lower drawer of their desk, and there it remained and it was never seen again, right? So you want not to be that person. My suggestion is take it out weekly and make sure that it is up to date. So write with an erasable pen. Always take a pencil, not an ink pen, in order to write your plans. So as soon as you write down your plan, it's already outdated, usually. Reality comes never like you plan for it. So that's an important message. You need to cope with not meeting your plan 100%. You need to stand that feeling and not start crying, but realizing it, that there is a deviation from the plan, and then acting smartly with that deviation. So you want to have a plan in order to align your weekly proceedings with the long-term plan. Am I still on track? If not, get it that you are off track and handle smartly in order to adapt to your long-term goals. So goals and planning is kind of the same thing. You plan by setting clear goals. You plan or you set goals on different timely horizons. My suggestion is to set yearly goals, to set quarterly goals, and to set weekly goals. That's a great structure to use these calendar categories in order to set goals. And you don't want to have too many of them. So as a rule of thumb here, 1 to 5 yearly goals. That's it. Not 17 of them or 31 yearly goals, but up to 5, the biggest goals. What is most important in this year? Write them down and have a place where you find them again. And then also plan for the next quarter, because yearly goals are kind of dangerous. When it's just January and you plan for the year, in 2 or 3 months, you will forget about January's goals, and it's still so far away until the year is over. So that's too long of a stretch. Have a shorter episode to plan, like a quarter, 3 months. When you set clear, graspable, crystal clear goals for in 3 months, then you need to start working on them, right? To be on the safe side, to actually meet the desired goal. You need to become active, and that's what you want to put yourself into this mode. Oh, I need to become active because there was this goal. Even more so with weekly goals. I want to reach that this week. It's already Wednesday. I have 2 more days to go. So work with goals. Many people hesitate to set actual goals because they are kind of afraid of goals, because they can be disappointed when they don't reach it. Don't be that person. Dare setting clear goals, crystal clear goals. And there is a big difference between wishes and goals. A wish is something like, I want to do more for my body, for my physical health. That's a nice wish, but it's unclear. It doesn't make you do something. It's a nice thing to have in mind, and having the next beer and eating the next French fries or whatever. So I want you to think about crystal clear goals. You know about the term SMART goals. Maybe I do a video on that as well. So set crystal clear goals that are not misunderstandable. Like from now on, I will do twice a week. I will go jogging for at least 25 minutes. And I will do at least once a day a 5-minute a heavy workout in order to become more physical fit. So that's just an example. It's measurable. Did I do it today already? Did I do it already twice this week? Or do I still have to become active? So that's the first one. So have a long-term plan, work with your plan, stand that it deviate every once in a while from the plan, and be ready to erase and correct your plan, and set goals on these different timely horizons. That's number one. Number two, and that's maybe specifically dedicated to the PhD students amongst you, but also for the postdocs, related to your most important stakeholders with which you have relationships. So, second tip is speak with your supervisor. Usually when you are a PhD student, you have one primary supervisor, and that's such an important relationship. Maybe you have two, and depending on the setup, they are maybe equally important, or there is one more important supervisor. It doesn't matter. With your supervisor/supervisors, or for the postdocs, with your most important stakeholders, with your PI, with your group leader, you want to speak well, you want to communicate well, and you want to communicate proactively. What's that? Don't hold back with news. As soon as there are news on your side, think about them and think about how you want to communicate them, and then communicate. Inform your supervisor early about any bigger delay, about expectations, make expectations clear as soon as you can. So, for example, when you're just starting a PhD and you have certain ideas about when you want to finish and when you need to finish, speak about these expectations. I guess your supervisor will ask you for a plan, so share your long-term plan with your supervisor. Speak about how realistic this approach is and what you can do in order to stay in time. And then maybe a year before you want to leave, again mention it and make it crystal clear. By the end of this year, I want to leave. Is that in your mind? You should remind your supervisor about such things in your regular meetings, or irregular, however they are in your case. But speak about such things that are upcoming and remind your supervisors. Because there is a kind of a built-in conflict in the relationship between the supervisor and the PhD student, which is you as a PhD student, you want to become more and more knowledgeable and be very successful in your PhD project in order to receive your title in the time given. So you want to finish at some point, but you become more and more knowledgeable, and your supervisor can use this knowledge more and more, and they want to keep you. That's natural, and it's completely understandable. So you need to argue, hey, good supervisor, yes, I became more knowledgeable, but I need to leave soon. I'm sorry. So there is a likeliness of a certain conflict, right? And you want to deal well with that. That's just one example. There are so many more issues between you and a supervisor that can occur, and you want to try to communicate well. One other thing is you want to always approach it from a win-win perspective, not just win, I want to get something from my supervisor because that's my supervisor. That would be wrong. You want to support your supervisor as they should support you. Don't expect too much of a support from the supervisor. Be very clear about what you can expect. Also there, speak with your supervisor and also dare to demand something. Ask for example, for more regular meetings, for instance. One thing, there is a big don't in the relationship that I would not recommend to do. You don't want to be the one who complains. You don't want to be the one who is the guy always coming up with a problem. You want to be the solution guy. So it's completely okay to mention there is a problem. But what you should not do is to go to your supervisor, hey, poor me, I have this problem, please solve it, or show me how to solve it. That's not the way that it is intended, this relationship. Don't misuse your supervisor as your mama. That would be wrong, and I completely understand supervisors who react not well on such an attitude. So what I would recommend each student to do when there is a supervisor relationship is that only go to a supervisor when you have thought the problem well through and you have at least 3 ideas for a solution. Then go there and say, hey, I have this situation and I've thought about how to solve it. I have 3 ideas. Could we speak about that? That's an okay way, I think, to approach with a problem to somebody superior or a supervisor. So, final tip is always when you have a meeting, give a little written email as a feedback about what was agreed upon. So don't just rely on oral communication with your supervisor, but send small summaries via email after each meeting. Within the next 24 hours, your supervisor should receive such a summary. That makes life easier, and you can come back to these things that you agreed upon even 12 months later. Tip number 3, structure your day. We spoke about long-term planning, and I always recommend to start with time management based on looking into the big future, into your long-term vision, trying to make that as graspable as possible. But it is equally essential that you learn to structure the short-term planning excellently. So you want to do the best possible job in structuring a single working day. How do you do that? I do that intensely in my time management courses. So if you want to have a complete guidance there, take a course from whomever, but get a good education in how you do good, proper time management. Here, just some main thoughts that I think are valuable. I would try to reserve the morning, the first half of my working day, completely to progressing my most important project, which is my PhD, which is my #1 postdoc project, and not to do anything else, not to do anything teaching responsibility related that you need to do, anything with experiments, anything prettying up presentations. Go to the core, progress really well in the mornings. Then you already progressed well in the most important aspect that you have in life, in your current situation. And reserve the afternoons for emailing, for meeting with students, for meeting with supervisors, for working on side projects if they are actually necessary. Try to limit them. But set clear priorities, also time-wise. So know what is your most important project and force yourself to work on that effectively in the first half of the day. That's the first tip of the structuring. Another tip is related to your morning routine before you actually start working. What do you do before? And there are big habits. It's like all these tips are addressing our habits, right? Things that we are used to do the same way since years, day by day by day. We have some habits, and they are so influential to our success or to the opposite of it. So it matters so much how you start into a single working day. So you want to think about very well how you start into the working day. I will do a vlog on how to do a good morning ritual. Have a look at that vlog once it's out. I would not recommend to deal with other people's issues, which is going to social media, going to the news, what happens out there. This all kind of steals your focus, steals thinking power. Try to start the day focused, which means you would have a daily plan that you build in the last day. At the end of the last day, my recommendation is to plan for the next day, have a little written plan for the current day. And then not allow yourself to be distracted by anything external, like emails from somebody, news, social media news, whatever. Cut off these external influences and start waking up, get physically active, eat something nice, maybe meditate, maybe do your physical exercises, whatever you want to do in order to have a nice start getting into the day. And then maybe think through the day. That's a nice habit. Like 5 to 10 minutes, sit down and just think through the already planned day and think through step by step the units that are upcoming in a way like, what is the most important thing in this session? What is the most important thought that I want to write down in this writing session? What is the most important thing that I want to bring into that meeting that I have in the afternoon? So just mentally go through your day and then start your working day. Some people need to be forced to make pauses from working. So maybe you are one of them. Some people, when they are kind of free to do whatever they want, they continue to work on and on and on, and they don't realize how exhausting this is. So one trick to just stop this behavior would be to set an alarm every 50 minutes. That's a nice time to make a 5 up to 10 minutes pause. So start with 50 minutes. If you don't have a better time and a better insight in what you actually individually need, it can be much shorter. It can be a bit longer. Usually it cannot be longer than 90 minutes in a stretch. Then you should make a pause, definitely. And pauses, by the way, are always, that's another big mistake. Pauses are, you should not stay seated at your computer or just stay in the same body position. There are two things that I recommend. Make sure that you move each single body joint so that you stand up, that you move, that you do some exercise, and that you go to another place where you can breathe different air. So these are two aspects of a nice pause. And then come back to work in reasonable time. Some people should set an alarm so that they don't forget to end the pause. If that is true for you, you will know. So these are the most important things that I want to share with you about structuring a working day. Of course, it becomes even more important when you work in the home office in these times, which will be even after Corona or in the endemic phase. It will be very important to be able to set up your working habits so that you can work super effectively and efficiently also at home office or also remotely. So a couple of tips here. I think it's very beneficial to have clear starting and ending times in such an environment, and if possible to have dedicated spaces. So one space or one place where you just work and one space or place where you just relax or have leisure time. If you have limited space, which is very likely, then it can be simple tricks like you will sit at the same desk or at the same table, but from a different side. Like if I sit from here, I'm in leisure mode. If I sit from here at my table, then I'm in working mode. So, or you use different lightnings. That's my working light, which might be very cold, like 6,000 Kelvin or something like that, and very bright. And then you have a more yellowish and not so bright light in leisure time. So have a clear setup that shows you, are you in working mode right now or are you in leisure mode? And secondly, have strict rules for leisure time and rules for working time. So what is allowed to do and what is not allowed to do. I would not allow myself to order just because I had the idea, the intuition, I need to order some concert tickets. That would not be allowed in working time. I would make a note on my daily to-do list, but I would do that after working hours. So set up clear rules, clear times, and clear spaces. And then finally, tip number 4, which is stay motivated. I want to share 2 main things here, what you can have in mind in order to stay motivated. Before sharing and focusing on these 2 things, 3 small remarks about motivation. The first one, I believe it doesn't make sense to work on your own motivation if you are currently in the wrong life. What does that mean? I truly believe you need to deeply research, dig deep in why you are doing this crazy thing that you are currently doing, aiming for a PhD, doing the second postdoc, whatever you are currently following. Why are you doing this? Is this your own inner deepest wish, or do you follow anybody else's expectations, like your parents? So dig deep in order to find that and reveal that. And only if it's your own inner deepest wish to do the science you are currently doing, then go for it. Otherwise, find the life you would be happy in and dig there for the motivation you want to find. So make sure you're in the right life. The second thing, taking care for your own motivation is only your own job. Don't expect anybody else caring for this. Don't even think about blaming others that you are not motivated at any time. It's just your own job. Tell this yourself and make it sure you know this. Don't have any external expectations in others to motivate you. And then finally, if you are over some periods, if you don't feel this motivation, then just don't care. Learn to decouple a habit of continuously delivering results from needing to be in this excellently motivated state. Forget about it. Learn to work reliably, even in those phases where you are missing and lacking this motivation, where you are for 3 days in a row, you don't feel it. What the heck? Still follow your setup of your daily structure and produce results. And then motivation jumps in again. So these are the brief remarks. And now the two big things that I want to share about motivation. The first one is two insights from a very ancient old study, 1968. Frederick Herzberg, who was one of the most important and contributing psychologists in the field of motivation. He has published a Harvard Business Review article about how to motivate people. And the two outstanding factors that he points out that are responsible for motivation are, first, a deep feeling of achievement, of continuous achievement, and second, recognition of this achievement. So these are the two primary factors that are responsible for individual motivation, and they still are. So take care to set up your life so that you get both, that you are able to continuously achieve small, little, measurable goals. And secondly, set up your life in a way that others see these achievements. This means you need to show your supervisor or your PI or meaningful others that you did these even little achievements. So don't put your light under a bushel, but learn to speak up for yourself. I'm not speaking about bragging, but make the point clear what you achieved. In natural sciences, it's very widespread that you don't have positive results for a long phase. So even there, you can speak about achievement when you found that this approach definitely will not lead to positive results. And then looking at the next approach and the next approach. So also this can be considered achievement, and good supervisors should know that and even laud you for trying another approach that didn't work. Hopefully with a good plan in mind that aims for exchanging the approaches that you take in order to, at one point, have the positive results that you are hoping for. So set up your environment to give you these two things: a daily feeling of achievement. That's why we discussed how to structure a working day with at least one big meaningful ingredient, the frog, that you want to kiss every single day, right? And secondly, place these others, these meaningful people in your life who are able to laud you on a high level. It can be your supervisor, it can be a buddy, a scientific buddy with whom you exchange ideas every once in a while, which I highly recommend to have. Or you go to Twitter and post, or any other platform that allows you to spread your thoughts in a scientific community in order to be heard by others. So set up your life in that way. Or on academia.edu, or whatever other channel you select in order to spread your thoughts. Even LinkedIn, you can use it and inform others about your ongoing achievements. So take the recognition. That's the first big point, these two things. And then I personally believe it is equally important to set up a set of smart diets in 3 different directions. What am I speaking about here? I think it's essential to set up your own system so that you control 3 very specific diets. The first one is a physical diet, what you take into your physical body, your intake. You should watch that very carefully. I'm speaking about nourishment. I'm speaking about what you drink, what you eat, what you smoke if you smoke, what kind of drugs. I'm not a big fan of drugs. Definitely consider what you do to your physical body. I have this game going on in supermarkets. Whenever I'm in a supermarket, I love to do this game. I look first in the basket of somebody who is in the line behind me, and then I look into the face of that person. And very often I find a congruency there between what is in the basket and how that person looks. Because honestly, we are nothing more than what at one point is in our shopping basket, right? Every single cell is built from these ingredients. And we see that. We see the results, I deeply believe. So take care. If you would have a very valuable, expensive, well-trained, healthy racing horse, if you would own that horse, how would you feed that horse? Think about that and think about what you do with your own physical body. It's like 20 years ago, I quit smoking. And it was such a big change in my life. Twofold. First, I had much more time. I felt I had much more time because I didn't need to smoke every couple of minutes. And secondly, not being forced to smoke, not having to do this was such a big relief. And same with alcohol. I'm drinking 0 alcohol since also almost 20 years. I never drank way too much, but I found I was disturbed by the habit of having to drink or wanting to drink every once in a while, every week or so. I felt uncomfortable with that. That's a very subjective thing. I'm not telling you should not drink, but you should be careful what you have as a physical diet. So this also includes physical activities that you do with your physical body. What do you do with your physical body on a daily schedule? Like what elements of sports, of movements appear in your day? Second diet that I want you to look at is a mental, emotional diet. So which informations, which thoughts do you allow your brain to enter? What news channels are you reading and how often? And why do you do that? So I'm a big fan of mainly only focusing on those things that I can also control and that I want to control. And why the heck should I want to stay informed on such a short schedule so often about things that I don't take care of or that I don't influence? So deeply think about which news do you actually want to hear and in which emotion do you end up listening to these news. So if you are currently having a ritual of in the morning checking the news, reading about wars ongoing, reading about corona issues that you are already mad about, so do you need to do that on a daily basis? Rethink it. That's the second diet. And the third diet I would invite you to look at is a social diet. What do I mean by this? With which people do you surround yourself? Maybe you heard that saying that you are kind of the average of the 5 people with whom you surround yourself most of the time with. You're nothing else than the average of the 5 people that you surround yourself most often with. That's very widespread and it's wrong. It's much more than these 5 people. There is a nice study done by Nicholas Christakis and James Fowler, who reanalyzed a very big data set, the data set of the Framingham Heart Study, which is one of the most valuable, influential studies ever done in how a population influences its single members over the years. This study started in 1948 and it is still running. They analyzed the population, 5,200 something people between 30 and 60 years in the population of Framingham, and they measured all kinds of health parameters. And then they compared and watched what happens if a friend of you, for example, becomes obese. They found that the likeliness of yourself to become obese as well in the next 2 to 4 years increases by 45%. If a friend of your friend becomes obese, it still increases the likeliness that you become obese as well by still 20%. So it doesn't stop at the first degree of knowing somebody, but it continues with the friends of the friends. And even in the 3rd level, it continues. So if a friend of yours starts smoking, they found your own likeliness to start smoking increases by 61%. Even in the area of happiness, it is highly influential with whom you surround yourself. So the more happy the people around you are, the more happy you will be. Have this in mind when you think about how do I want to design the network that I surround myself with. It doesn't stop at person number 5. It's all the friends that you surround yourself with. So smartly think about with whom you want to design your own personal network. At one point, I did that in my own life, and I analyzed what do I feel okay with and what do I want to change. And I only needed to exclude one person from my own personal network. And then I felt super happy. So, and since then, I very much look at who is part of this network and who shouldn't be. So ideally, surround yourself with people who are reasonably ahead of yours, who accomplished something more, so to be attracted to reach this level yourself as well. So these are my main 2 recommendations for motivation. First, have the Herzberg parameters in mind, which is achievement and recognition for achievement. Set up your life that you get both of it, and carefully rethink these 3 diets: the physical diet, the mental, emotional diet, and the social diet that you donate yourself. So these are the 4 big tips that I wanted to share with you. Again, it's number 1, start with a plan, your plan, a current plan, and a set of clear, smart goals, quarterly, yearly, weekly goals. Second, speak in a proactive way with your supervisor. Clearly communicate, early communicate, and aim for a win-win relationship with the most important stakeholders around you. Third, structure your day in a meaningful way so that you can produce results. And fourth, rethink the factors that you need to be working in a motivated manner. So these are the 4 main ideas that I wanted to share with you today. If there was something valuable for you in it, please give it a like. And if you want to apply the things you heard, my recommendation is to be very selective and to only select a few ideas that you want to apply and then observe what changes occur in your life. I wish you a lot of success. I wish you fulfilled days. It was a pleasure having you. Would be a pleasure seeing you in another video or a course. Have a great day. Thanks a lot.